Okay, we're going to start the meeting now.
Okay, guys, I want to welcome everybody to the March meeting. I'm not Craig. Craig is in Singapore, and just asked if I would head up the meeting. I said I would. I want to ask: has anybody read Betsy's wonderful HUPS newsletter?
Oh yeah,
Everybody read it?
yeah.
If you haven't read it, go read it. It is chock full of information, as it usually is. Let me ask: is there? Because I think there's a couple of new people here. Is anybody here that has not been here before?
Right over here.
You stand up and tell us who you are.
It's his fault. My name's Rick Bott, and it's my wife Deborah, and Scott and Eileen invited us, so we thought we'd come and hear this presentation and see what your club's about. One of us is a photographer, both of us are divers.
I hope to see you back here again.
Thank you.
So what kind of camera do you run?
It's a mirrorless.
Which a Sony?
Yeah.
They make good cameras. Yeah, well, that's cool. All right, Russell.
Hopefully you'll learn something tonight, and we'll learn something tonight.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anybody been diving lately? Where have you been?
St. Lucian.
How was it?
Oh, it's great.
We've obviously been there before these. Oh, you have not. It is a little different than other parts of the area.
Yeah. We're going back in a week.
Where'd you stay?
We stayed at on Shasane, at Sugar Beach, and Jade Mountain. All three of them.
Okay. Oh,
They-
it's good. And you love the steps.
Always, we're always
there. Henry's been there before too. What else? That's needs to get some more.
Back to Whiten Bay again. And I don't know if anybody in this group has been to Whiten Bay. I don't think so. I think Dennis has been in the neighborhood of Whiten Bay, but not actually there. Anyway, it's on West Papua, and it is well worth going there. It is really, really out of the way. You take 4 months to get there from Houston, a 2-hour boat ride around to get to this really out of the way. It runs on generators and no internet, and you know they turn the generators off at 11 o'clock at night and turn them back on at 6 in the morning. But it's the pygmy seahorse capital of the world. I guarantee. Every dive you go on, you see one of the types of pygmy seahorses, and they're at pretty shallow depths because we've been used to, you know, if you want to go film a pygmy seahorse, it's going to be like at 80 or 90 feet, and you can't stay there that long, and they're uncooperative, and you get frustrated, right? So these are like at 40 and 50 feet, and it's just great. It's really a terrific place to go diving, and a terrific resort too.
And so how was the ride home?
Which one?
From Triton Bay.
Well, you know, the 2-hour boat ride or the 4 airplane flights.
The cancellations and everything.
Yeah, the first flight was canceled. The first time we went to Triton Bay, the flight out of Kaimana was canceled. And the second time we were there, this time, the flight was canceled again. So you have to be prepared to stay at some, you know, little hotel and rebook all of your flights home every time. So,
Yeah.
Justin, have you been diving?
Not yet. Oh, will be soon.
I just saw you standing there. So
No, you.
Good friend.
Yeah. Introduce your family.
The reason I say that is they're already going through new members or guests. And
Okay, very well timed. Well, I guess I'll start at the new beginning. So you guys know my girlfriend Valerie, and she's pregnant with my son, who's going to be my Sherpa very soon. You guys will bow.
Your son's going to be the son.
My son's going to be my Sherpa. And there's my beautiful mom Jillian visiting us, and my dad Junior, and my equally beautiful big sister Donna.
Okay, it's not as handsome.
I think you know that. So a fun fact, I held my dad's camera gear for most of my life. He would look at me and say, change this lens, and I would change it and hand him back, and he would just give it to me. Well, the true part of the story is he never read the manual. I had to.
Anybody else been diving?
Yeah, I've been, Russell.
No.
I got back Friday from Socorro, so I was out there on a liveaboard, the Nautilus Explorer. It was a good trip, a lot of manta rays and sharks. I don't think it was as productive as the time I went in 2017. The visibility wasn't as good, and I didn't think the mantas were quite as interactive, but it was a good time. We had a good trip.
That's great. Do you have any plane cancellations like Betsy?
No, the only difficulty was a trip home. It's a 250-mile boat ride back to Cabo, and it got quite rough, and we could only go about half speed, 5 knots, and so it took about like 36 hours to get back to Cabo. So I didn't get sick, but I was really fighting it to not get sick.
All right, let's go on to committee reports. Frank, where's Frank? Oh, there we go. Got anything you want to talk about TGCC or something else?
Yeah, get close, Frank. Yeah, come a little closer here.
Yeah, but everything was really good this year. It's been a good month. And I'm talking based on the TGC report. And I guess the best way to make that meaningful is the diving clubs council. That's basically
What's going on?
our organization that represents the clubs. Every club sends a representative to it. Each club has 1 vote. And we act basically as a community. So that's the group we're dealing with here. First, for our awards, the 3rd time we tried to give these. We had two awards from last year. We were unable to give at the banquet because these people were diving and having a good time on the airplane and hotels and stuff. Betsy, you come up, do us the honors. The first award, what did we have? Neptune. Okay, our Neptune program is basically support for the various activities we have, such as we support HUPS. We support a lot of the educational programs that HUPS has. And also like the banquet, the awards, all of those count towards this award. Betsy was the winner this year.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, staying there, we also offer a Member of the Year award. And as a council with a number of clubs, we look across those clubs as well as the council itself, to try to determine who contributed this year. And the Member of the Year went to Betsy and Craig Beasley.
We really appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
With a lot of help.
Yeah.
A lot of help. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing I'd like to cover is the scholarship program. The Diving Council offers a $500 scholarship, college scholarships. And this is a memorial program. It's given in honor of some of our past members who are deceased. This year, we're having a $500 is what we're looking to award. The applications are out to any of the clubs. And they are open to members of the clubs, their family, and their grandkids. So we have to go kind of far to find someone in the right age limit. Anyway, that's the program for this year. Now, there have been a couple of changes that went on that I also like to announce, particularly to HUPS. We have offered and asked each of the clubs to look through their past membership and determine whether there's anyone that should also be on this memorial scholarship program. And from HUPS, they asked that we include Jackie Reed and Ted Wimprine. Now, Jackie Reed was most people, I hope, would know him. Since, I mean, as an open photographer, I think he won about somewhere between 13 to 18 times. He is probably one of the photographers that all of us have learned a lot from. He passed away a number of years, couple years back now, from COVID. Ted Wimprime is probably a name that only one or two of you can recognize. Yes, yeah, not the same. Yeah, we personally knew him. Probably 1980s and 1990s. Ted was past vice president of the Houston Underwater Photographic Society. He's on your board, and he also led the, I would say, the dive community through GREAT, which is an organization, a nonprofit organization that was basically put together in order to put the mooring buoys in. The mooring buoys that were put in on the flower gardens and on Stetson are the reason that the sanctuary was finally designated. And Ted was probably also behind what is considered the ground roots start for the flower gardens. And that's a 1979 letter from the Houston Underwater Club asking the federal government to look at creating a sanctuary. And that letter has been quoted by the sanctuary office and is recognized. Even, I think I talked to Jesse, he mentioned it was a seaside chat where one of the presenters was asked that question: what started sanctuary movement? What point? And that involvement by one of our clubs, one of the founding clubs of our diving council, is given as the reason for the sanctuary. And it's probably one of the reasons why we have a very vested interest in it. And that interest is, I would say, it's recognized by them. There are 16 voting seats on the SAC, the Sanctuary Advisory Council, and divers have 4 of them. So that is part of the significance, and that is one reason why, as the council, diving council, we kind of monitor that program. Okay, the next thing I'd like to update would be the charity program that we've been talking about the last few months. We're trying to set up a divers charity. So I just put that on work. This basically describes what we're looking at: divers working together to form a nonprofit, basically benefit our community, to be able to change the things that we can do as a club, which is what we are as HUPS or some of the other clubs. You're basically a member and you get benefits from the club. And that's what the club's about. It's doing things for members. Now, a charity is quite the opposite. It allows you to do things as a group that affect the members, and be that supporting any of the programs we run, something like HUD, even their scholarship program, disabled divers, anything for marine environment. But as a group, we can actually affect that. We can show an interest in it to the outside community. So that's what we're trying to do here. Our objectives is to support divers and the family, get appreciation for diving as a group. And what we're trying to do right now is we are advertising and we're putting a package together. We're looking for supporters. We were looking for 100 supporters. And basically, we're asking for $15 to help finance the movement to that, but also commitment that you would be very interested in, probably at, as I say, $20 rate to support an organization that was formed. Now, this thing has changed, and even the slide here is probably a little bit outdated. We had a meeting of this divers charity, and it's a good name, but it's not the name we're going to end up with. We had to have a placeholder. But we had a meeting of what I would call the dive community. This concept was developed through the council, basically on the basis of the diver, and trying to put together a package. Once we reached a stage, which is what we reached last Thursday, we began to go out to the diving community. I tried to get together a member from each of our clubs and support the council. Someone from the dive travel industry, someone from the dive boats, someone from the dive shops, trying to put them all together and start coming up with a organization that would work and that is not on a narrow view and a topic, very scoping view that the council would have what the intent was. And the first thing they disagreed was the name. So the name is, we're right now looking for a name. And that's important because we're at the stage where things are going back and forth by email. And I've also just told you that I cherry picked a group that I thought would have all the input. And that's not necessarily what's really important. So at this stage is anybody that wants to be involved with this discussion and this development. Either contact me so you get on the list and get buried and inundated by these emails, or Dennis. Because right now, like I said, we're looking for ideas and the program is looking to go forward. The other thing is that this organizational $15 had a deadline of June 30th. Well, the first thing that group told me is, forget the deadline, we're going to do it. So it's been determined that we are going forward. That's changed one thing there. Still need $15, whatever we can get to, and finance that. But at this stage, we are moving forward. We are looking for a name that would depict what the institute is going to do. Once we get the name, we will reserve it. We will begin the other steps. Now, at any stage, things could fall apart. But right now, it's really very dynamic. And it's at a stage where anybody that is interested and thinks they can contribute to it, we would like their assistance.
I'd like to say something in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do we have any more slides? Excellent.
Yeah, let me go ahead and just,
Okay.
because it's probably, I don't think I'm online to see anybody, but like Frank mentioned, I've been involved with this for a while, but I think one of the big things that came out of this discussion that we had was that it isn't just about diving, it's about all water sports. People that are fishermen and people that do boating, you name it. We're going to try to involve them as well. And so we're going to be contacting the people in the fishing groups and the aquatic sports, boaters, whatever, and trying to get their support as well. In order to do that, we're probably going to open them up to participation in this as well, as far as the board of directors or the advisory committee. It's a very worthy organization. It's something that if we can make it work, there are ideas on how to leverage this into something very meaningful. We're not talking about $15 here and $20 there. We're opening it up because it's a 501c3 for people that have reached to that stage in their life where they want to donate and to contribute things to the rest of the world of the water sports industry. Like, for instance, if I want to put $5,000 someplace and write it off on my taxes, I could very easily give it to, I think we call it Aqua, right, Betsy?
That's the working name.
The working name right now, Aqua. American Charity Underwater, what is it?
American Charitable Water Sports Association.
Yeah, Aqua. And so we've had quite a bit of work that's already been, I think we're making a good foundation right now. Okay, that's what I had to say.
We covered, okay. Actually, we haven't covered all that backup. What Dennis was talking about, we would have supporters who basically were interested in somebody to help us with the main program and maintaining its administrative expenses. This would be a volunteer organization, so there are no paid positions. All the officers, all the board members are non-paid positions. The only one we'd have is just the costs associated with running the organization, the website, and other things. It can be significant costs. Then you're looking at donations that directly fund the program, supported donations that are just given in general, where it is controlled by the organization, and finally, the type of donation that can be directed. In other words, we receive a request in to donate so much to this needy task, this needy thing.
I can't hear anything.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I cannot hear Frank.
Well, Frank, get closer, I guess.
Okay.
The microphone.
I will, yeah, the microphone didn't come in. I had some ordered, but Amazon screwed it up, and so we don't have it yet.
Well, at least let me cover the target donations, because that's something that I consider rather unique. And I assume that other organizations do that, but that would be a 100% in, 100% out to whatever they requested to go to. Now, we would also post that so that others can contribute that. And it would also be a board decision as to whether that is a worthy charity to send it to. Okay, so once that decision, if that decision is not made, then we don't accept the donation. Anyway, that brings you up to date on the charity and where we stand. Okay, questions? Good. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Sherelle, do you got anything on membership?
No.
Great. Betsy, you want to talk about HUPS real quick?
We're getting prepared for the HUPS, which is the Houston Underwater Film Festival. For anybody who's new in here, everybody else has been going to this for the last couple of years. We're about to have our 3rd annual HUPS, April 29th and 30th. If anybody in this room has not been contacted who wants to volunteer, please let me know so I can get you on the volunteer list. There's plenty of jobs that need to be done the weekend of the festival. We're going to have 2 completely different shows down at the Match Theater Complex and 2 parties that go along with the shows, after the shows. So let me know if you would like to volunteer. Thank you.
If you haven't been to HUPS, put it on your calendar this year. They're really great shows to see over a 2-day period. Let's see, Martin, you want to talk about the photo contest real quick? Or anything you want to talk about it?
No,
We have
Probably
one
not.
every month.
Let's see, who else? Dennis, you want to talk about your workshops?
oh, I will. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this real close, but coming up after the film festival, what I have is 3 one-hour workshops that we're going to be talking about, and I've sort of given it a term, underwater videography for dummies and not quite so dummies. And it's going to be focusing on just how to take good underwater clips, not how to edit it and not how to put it together in films. If you can get good video, you can usually use it. If you don't have good video, it's really difficult to do anything good with it. So that's what it's going to be. It'll be after the film festival. That's it.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to call on Debbie and Jim. For those of you, HUPS is having a Captain Don's Habitat in Bonaire, October 14th through the 22nd. It's in the newsletter. I was hoping they were going to be here. And it starts on Saturday, October the 14th, come back on October 22nd. If you're interested, get hold of Jim or Debbie Menzie, pay your deposits. It's always a great trip. Let's see. Justin, you gonna talk about
Gadget of the month? Yeah, I'll make it quick.
Okay, you're going to need to get close to the mic because the people at the front.
We'll see what it works. I'm gonna hand this to somebody. Guys, close your eyes. Just one special one.
Okay, just a second. Wait a minute until we get everything ready to go here.
right.
Okay, can you get him on screen? No?
Yeah, let me share this.
This is an unapproved picture by my girlfriend, by the way. So I'm gonna talk about the gadgets of the month. I actually was really happy when Craig came up with this in January. And it fits right within the realm of who I am as a professional of technology. So the gadget of the month is the Apple AirTag. Okay. So maybe we could just show the second So if you zoom in on that, right? I always have to protect my girlfriend when we get to the counter for the airline check-in terms of bags. So this is a true story. This is her bag. These are all my bags. That's the other way around, right? Yeah.
Dive here.
Exactly. It's my camera gear, my dive gear, my shoes, and my clothes. But the most important thing as scuba divers is we will do everything to make sure we get to the airline counter, our initial departure, to make sure we get there with all our gear. And the worst thing that can happen is the carousel stops. You don't see your bag. Alas, air tags. So what the air tag is, right, is it's a device that Apple sells. You buy a 4-pack for about $100, and you actually put them on each bit of your gear. So I have one in each bag, right? And I just gave you mine, right? And I can ping it. I can play a song. So it's audible. But more important, on my phone, I can see where it is. So this is the airport in Jordan, Amman. And as you could imagine, 2 of my bags disappeared for about 30 minutes. I knew exactly where they were. I didn't know how long it would take, but I was happy. All of my bags made it to Amman. I was going to dive Aqaba, right? I didn't care. I was going to do it. So the peace of mind that it gave me is like, I cannot even describe. It is the ultimate gadget. Get it? Some of you might have Androids. Sorry, it's a Pixel system. I don't even Android. They have them for Android as well.
Right.
There you go. Yeah. And last but not least, it will not find your dive bunny.
Okay, and I said that I had a quick story, and that was with Craig and Betsy. We were going to Analau, and of course we lost one day because the flight, the airplane didn't go. So we ended up in LAX for an extra day and ended up having to get our antigen testing the next morning in a parking lot. And then we went and headed off to Manila. And we get to Manila, and Betsy's bags show up. And one of my bags and one of Craig's bags show up, but 2 other big bags with all of our gear and stuff in it don't. And the carousel keeps going around and around and around, and nothing happens. And I finally think, well, maybe if I use this little guy right here, and I take out my cell phone and I look at it, and sure enough, the bags were about 50 feet from us. They had taken them off the carousel and dumped them somewhere. And so they were already there. As Craig said, it was kind of it was a bad trip to start off with, but it was a really great trip afterwards. Okay, that's it. All right.
I think we're ready to start the program.
Yeah, Justin is the man that's going to introduce our speaker.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I think I was the last person. Maybe the only person.
Get close, get close.
Maybe
Get
the
close.
person to dive in. Robert, you want to put your camera on?
We still there?
I'm here. Hang on.
There you go.
Oh,
There we are.
There he is.
There's a face.
that story about the all the baggage that just made me crack up with laughter. I actually spit my Coke out. So 1 bag versus 3. Okay, I'm here. Yes.
So you guys have probably read the newsletter and seen his narrative. I'm going to tell you who he is because I've dived with him, right? So last November, I did a 2-week expedition between La Paz, the caves and Playa del Carmen and Cozumel. But my absolute purpose was to do Blackwater in Cozumel, which, as Robert will so enthusiastically tell you, it's pretty epic. What I would say is there are very few places I go as a photographer, and the guide is a photographer. So he's no longer a guide. Here am I diving with another underwater photographer. So that's checkbox number 1 for me. Because most of the times I dive with a guide, they're taking off and I'm going slow, I'm creeping, right? They might hold my snoot, then they take off. But Robert is an absolute gem when it comes to that. He spent the first 40 minutes before we got in the water on the Blackwater, and also I did a lot of shore dives with him, absolutely going through my camera gear, showing me different things that I've had the gear for about 4 years and I didn't even know. So second box, right? Box number 3, he's from the UK, so he understands a lot of the things I say. It's brilliant. We talked about cricket, we talked about things like, oh, we're in Cozumel, like, how bizarre is that, right? You know, God bless the Queen, okay? And last but not least, is that he's humble, right? His enthusiasm might not show it, but he's really humble about it. As a person, you see him in person, he's just the most chill guy. I'll give him a lot of kudos for starting the Blackwater and Cozumel, because we've all done Cozumel. We all understand what Cozumel looks like during the day. An absolutely magnificent blue drop off. But then you turn your lights off. It's dark, right? Yeah. And he figured out with his scooter one night and some 10,000 lumens.
Give away all my story. You're telling my story.
Go on mute. Go and get back on mute. He figured it out.
I'll just give you the slides. You can talk about it because
So long story short is he's quite a pioneer. And for me, it's very important in terms of seeing young people in the sport. You know how enthusiastic I am about young people in our sport of scuba diving and underwater photography. So he's really one of my mates. He's really, really a pioneer. So all that said, if you want to read more about him, look at it in the newsletter. But he has an amazing presentation. I saw it in November when he presented for the South Florida Underwater Photography Society, which I'm also a member of, and I was blown away. And I said, Dennis, you gotta have this guy. And then I went and I saw him, and bought him a few beers and convinced him.
Robert, thank you very Justin, excuse me. Thanks a lot for a great introduction. I could not have done it anywhere near as good. That's why I asked him to do it. So Justin, if you would share screen, we will turn off a few lights and it's all yours. Robert, excuse me. Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. Okay, right. Hold on. I need to find the share screen button now. We rehearsed this. It was brilliant. And now I need to, hang on, how do I share screen? It was really obvious earlier. Screen, share screen. Here we go. Desktop. Hello, everyone. Hang on. Share. Is this working?
Yeah, now maximize.
Yeah, there we go. How about this? There we go. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, am I full screen at your end?
Almost a second.
There seems to be a bit of a lag involved. Oh. Is it me or is that you do?
Okay, now we're good. Now we're good to go.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Well, hello everybody. My name's Robert Stansfield. This talk's called Macro Cozumel ? Because apparently Cozumel doesn't have any macro. But apparently I kind of pioneered it here, which is kind of fun. I had no idea I was doing that. I was just taking photos. And it's kind of now become my thing, which was kind of unexpected. But anyway, I'll go on to that. So in a previous life, before being here on Cozumel, I did this kind of thing. I was a video engineer for live touring events. I set up very large LED walls, camera packages, directed, did big projection screens, and basically did everything really, really loud and with loads of people. And it was great because it took me around the world with loads of different bands. I spent 16 years being on the road constantly, constantly touring with different bands. I'd be jumping from one artist to the next artist, to World Cups, to Olympics, and just basically taking part in as many massive events as I possibly could get involved in. And I was either working as a director, as a camera guy, as an LED engineer, as a crew chief, just basically everything involved in video and live events. That was kind of what I did, but mainly looking into the rock and roll kind of music side. Basically, that allowed me to have long holidays in Mexico. And I started coming to Mexico, and I was in 2016. Just because it was really convenient to jump from Cancun. I could jump to the States. I could jump to Europe for, you know, $300. I could jump in with one of these package holiday aircraft, and I could just go across incredibly quickly, incredibly cheaply. So it was a no-brainer basically. I could live in Mexico cheaper than I could live in London. So I did that. I mean, it's terrible for the environment now. When I think back, I was doing 3 months at work, flying back to where I lived, sitting here for 3 months, and then flying back to work again. It was all very odd. But when you think about Mexico, when you think about, you know, the area I lived in, I was doing it for the bull sharks, which is amazing, right? The season's just finished, but it's what an amazing thing to do. During the summer, you've got the whale sharks. So during August, September, July, August, September, we've got the wonderful whale sharks sitting up in Cancun area. And then obviously you've got the cenotes. And the cenotes really got me when I first moved to Mexico. Because, you know, they're phenomenal, right? You get to dive in these places which divers really shouldn't be. You know, you're underwater in a cave. It's crazy. And then the cenotes were wonderful. And some of these cenotes don't exist anymore. The one on the right here looks nothing like it. So I got really into the cenotes, and then I did my full cave training. Then it got very serious full cave training. And then I realized that if I want to do this and I want to take photos underwater, I'm going to have to buy an awful lot of lights. So I went online, did a bit of searching, spoke to a few people, and found out about Orca lights. And they're the people that did the lights for Blue Planet 2 series. And so I bought some of these lights and stuck a load of money into these lights. At the time I was rich, didn't matter. So I thought, you know, do it. And so what you're looking at here is a light with 90,000 lumens, making this cave shot. In the hand of Robin there, a friend of mine who's got the rebreather on, he's got a 30,000 lumens. Behind me is 30,000 lumens. And then behind Robin is another 30,000 lumens. So I started doing this and I really liked it. Cave photography is amazing, incredibly dangerous. So yeah, I look back and go, well, it was fun, you know. Look at that. There's another 90,000 lumens in one shot. And that's what, 16,000 pounds worth of light just to do that shot. Because these lights aren't a Chinese 30,000 lumens. This is a proper British 30,000 lumens. And it really shows. And later on, when I got into the Blackwater thing, the 30,000 lumens, these British 30,000 lumens really show. So that was nice. I was living over in Playa del Carmen, and it was nice, but it was really, really, really smelly. As I'm sure you all know, there's this huge pollution issue currently in the Caribbean. And this pollution during the summer results in this, the sargassum. Now, if you live in Playa del Carmen or in Cancun, this site here is horrific. The smell is really, you know, it's overbearing. I mean, it's yeah. However, for me now, this looks like gold, because what's underneath that sargassum sheet is phenomenal. And now whenever I do dives, I'm looking for these sargassum sheets because they're just full of life. And we find the most incredible things underneath these sheets. But spin it back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I had enough of this sargassum stuff, enough to move to Cozumel. And there's Cozumel. And I was thinking to myself, being English, I don't know anything about Cozumel. I think if you're American, if you live in Houston, you know about Cozumel. It's an island that kind of is you're aware of. It's a nice place. Being English, I'd never heard of it, although I had heard that there was good diving there. So, but this is what I had heard of about Cozumel. Cruise ships, old folk, snorkeling, more snorkeling, and just big walls. And it kind of didn't appeal to me really, because I like cave diving and I like macro photography. Because, you know, there's toadfish in Cozumel. It's kind of interesting. You know, they're all right, aren't they? You can take 1 or 2 photos of Cozumel. You get wide angle swim throughs. That gets boring after about 2 dives. Maybe 3 dives with wide angle. You can go, whoop, another wide angle, another toadfish. Yeah, okay. That's another dive. Eagle rays. That doesn't get old. That doesn't get old. I've just come back from a dive doing the eagle rays today. There's 20 up there at the moment. We didn't see 20 on this dive. On the dive I did today, we got patches of 5. But still, I mean, it's a phenomenal thing to see in Cozumel. There's rust here. We got some wrecks, which are good fun to take photos of. There's a good friend Spyro on the left there, giving us his merman thing. Don't ask questions about that, it's a bit weird, but Cozumel has a wrecks, and it also has caves. Now, this is really what got me interested in Cozumel initially, because there's this place here, there's System Aerolito, right? Aerolito is one of the most incredible caves on the planet, pretty much. These are some wide angle photos inside it. There's 18 kilometers of cave underneath Cozumel in just Aerolito system itself. Incredibly difficult place to take photos in. The rock is incredibly dark, it just sucks all the light out. But the macro inside this cave is incredible. And I kind of started taking these photos, I called it Life on the Line, of macro inside the cave of Aerolito. And at the moment I've got some UNAM people, so the local university have asked me to go into another cave on the island and take some photos of the macro life inside, because I can take these photos which are a higher resolution than they can get in the lab. So they can do more studies about the animal from my photos than they can actually by taking a sample of the animal and taking it into the lab to dissect. So I can take natural photos. So it kind of works. So this is some of the stuff you get in Aerolito. Incredible cave to take photos in. It's the closest thing I think you could probably get to being on a deep oceanic trench, because there is no light at all. Quite an amazing place. As you can see, it gets influence from the sea, and crocodiles and things. Incredible cave, and I think I must have spent several months inside this cave just taking photos of the little stuff that's in there, and some of the bigger stuff. There's a hawksbill turtle, very sad. Also inside this cave we get amazing crystals. It's dogtooth spur, so it's a very clean form of calcium carbonate. So of calcium, whatever it's called. Anyway, so that's inside Aerolito. This was the extended tour. Then I ended up bumping into this fella, Cameron Donson, when I was living on Cozumel. He's also a cave, who was an avid cave diver. Unfortunately, Cameron passed away a few years back out on a dive. He didn't ever come back. So there's Cameron and his mum, and he sent me this map, which I put up here. Said this map arguably changed the direction of my diving, because I hadn't been so cave based. He sent me this map: frogfish, seahorses, coralheads, jawfish, parking, and parking won it for me. And I was like, brilliant, parking! I can go somewhere, I can park, and I can go straight out diving. I don't have to faff around with anything. And there he is, showing me and a mate Robin where to go diving. This is in, I forget when it was. If any of you guys are interested in Sulawesi diving, speak to this fella here on the right there, Robin Christo. He's pioneering diving out in Sulawesi with caves and stuff. Anyway, so Cozumel, there's Cozumel. Oh, hang on, going backwards. These are the currents that flow around Cozumel. This is all seems a bit, and that's where Tequila Bar is. And this isn't an anchorage area. So everywhere in the marine park, which is down on the left there, which is in the hashed area, that's the marine park zone, and you have to be 1.5 meters away from the reef in the marine park. That's according to the letters of the law of the marine park. So macro photography in the marine park is pretty difficult unless you ignore that completely, which is not my kind of thing. I'm a bit too British to be just ignoring rules altogether. So Tequila Bar was brilliant. It was outside the marine park. It's got this beautiful predominant current, which just constantly feeds fresh, clean water into that area. So the visibility is normally really good, and lots and lots of planktonic life. So this whole stretch of Cozumel is fantastic, and that circled area is pretty much where all my photos come from. So these photos you're just about to see, I'm going to run through a few of them. It's pretty much just that one specific area. This is the sonar chart of the area. As you can see, the depths. So it starts off incredibly shallow, 15 feet or so, drops down to around about 30 feet, stays that way all the way out until you hit a reef, and then it drops straight down to really deep, just the wall off. So this map here is really important for later on. But after I've spent months and months and months taking photos in this tiny little area, I then started realizing that in this deep water section just in front of Tequila is this most incredible amount of life. So this is what the little tequila looks like. It's just a small little beach bar where loads of local freelance divers basically uses their swimming pool area, because it counts under PADI as it's not open water. It's essentially a swimming pool. So you can do all the confined skills at Tequila. Super little place. So by the day, you get all the typical kind of Caribbean stuff, you know, flamingo tongues. And you've got this big grassy sandy area where normally you have lots of divers just chewing it all up as they learn to dive. And you've got these small little coral heads, great for practicing the sunburst photos and things like that. You know, typical Caribbean look for photos. You've got loads of snorkelers overhead. It's always kind of good fun. You have to be a bit careful of having a haircut from all the boats and stuff hanging overhead. And it's just some boring wide angles. You know, you do when you first go to somewhere, you kind of take these close focus wide angle shots. I detest them now. I kind of hate doing them. So then I started sticking on a macro lens, because let's face it, macro photography is so much more interesting than wide angle, because wide angle is point and click, where macro photography, you kind of have to think a little bit more about it. So this is me playing around with a 105 and a 1.4 teleconverter. Just in the daytime, just looking at stuff, no flashes, just having fun with ambient light. And then I went out and bought a retro snoot, one of those horrible retro LSDs. I don't know if anyone's used one. They're horrible pieces of things. They don't point where you want them to go. They give you this horrible blue edge if you get it wrong. And they're probably one of the hardest snoots to use unless you buy the retro flash that goes with it. So anyway, I was using a Z240, this horrible retro flash, and these are the images I was getting out of it, because I'm very pig-headed. So if I find something very difficult, I try really, really hard and again and again and again to make it work. So, you know, I kind of was getting there with this kind of thing. But then this backscatter came out, which was loads better. But this is me using it with a 105 and 105 with a 1.4 teleconverter, taking a photo of something quite a long way away by the looks of it. But this is what I spent my time doing. And these are the kind of results I was getting from Tequila, this tiny little area just next to the road with 100 peso entry fee. And the tanks are incredibly cheap. So I was having a whale of a time there. It was really good fun. This is all the daytime stuff I was finding. Got head shell slugs, loads of different types of nudies, some quite good ones, some not so good ones. And then I started playing around with extension tubes. I don't know if anyone of you guys have used extension tubes. They're really good fun, and I couldn't recommend them any higher if you're doing macro photography in somewhere nice and shallow. Sitting with a 105 lens is great, but if you add an extension tube, wow, the world becomes a just a wonderful place again. You get this incredible zoom. You don't have any lost light. You can count the teeth on rusty gobies. It's fantastic. It opens up this world. I loved it. So I spent hours and hours playing around with these guys. We've got loads of lovely little wasabi peas. So this little area, this anchor zone outside of the marine park, that's seen as an open water zone, a confined water zone for guys learning to dive, is full of this just most amazing macro. It's just that everybody who dives there doesn't see it because they're such fresh divers. And yet it's out there. I was doing some really long dives. Here's a photo of me with, I don't know how many tanks we were mucking around that day. But that's basically what I was doing. I was spending hours and hours and hours out there to get these shots, because it's really good fun therapy. Here's quite good fun. This was a 3-tank, 2-air, 136, 120 minute. Yeah, quite serious diving, isn't it? If you're getting to that point to take these photos. But for me, it's just so much fun to spend 2 hours, 3 hours watching these pike blennies have quarrels over who's going to be where and in which hole. Fantastic fun. What's interesting to note here is if you see on the left hand side, you've got what would be, according to notebook, according to ID books, would be a female and a male fighting or courtship. However, you watch it a little bit longer, the female becomes a male, and then it's all very confusing. I think the definition of male and female within these pipe blending needs to be addressed, because it seems to be more of a coloration thing that people go, oh, I saw a female. It's like, when it may have been a male, just that when it's not in its hole, it tends to look different. But anyway, this is kind of the fun I was getting up to at Tiki. Is me flying around with the scooters. These scooters I'll come back to in a minute as well. These are scooters that me and Cameron created to try and cope with the extreme currents on Cozumel, and to increase the range that we get when diving there. And it allowed me to get this set of photos here. So in certain areas around this tiki area, further out by the wall, you get an awful lot of these. You get yellow-headed these jawfish, and obviously you find them when they have babies and stuff. And this is kind of like a collection of all the different mouth brooders we get at tiki. You got the cardinal in the center. I mean, I had no idea that Cozumel had mouth brooding cardinals. I'd always thought that was something you had to go to Indonesia to get, because you always see Anlau, you always see these different photo places, and these are the photos that they generate. And yet here in Cozumel, we get them as well. And I'd never seen photos like this at all of Cozumel. Whenever I've been online and I was a part of all the photo groups, I'd never seen a mouth brooding cardinal showing its eggs. It's always been, Nad Lembe and places like that where you see these photos. I had no idea it was here, but there you go, it's here. You just have to be patient. And then I started doing an awful lot of night diving at Tiki. So these are a set of photos of some of the things we get at night here. 2-claw shrimp, little sexy shrimp, roughback shrimp, and that's the one of the, I think we've got like 4 or 5 different species of mantis shrimp floating around on Cozumel. Here on these photos, I'd used a 20mm extension. I find that makes a really good setup for diving macro on Cozumel. It allows you to have a little bit more distance. An awful lot of these creatures are quite timid. And I found diving with a 60 or a 105 meant I always had to be very close, and almost sometimes too close to these poor little critters that you kind of spook them. But if you add a 20mm extension tube, then you really do get a much nicer working distance. It kind of like opens the camera up a lot more, especially for snoot work. Oh, this is a lovely photo. This is my first go with the Soft Pro. So after a while of me posting loads of different photos of macro work, I got contacted by Marlux, the new housing manufacturer, very, very similar to Nauticam. They also do a range of snoots and stuff, and this is me using the Soft. They sent me a Soft to ask me to take some photos of it, to see what I thought of it, and for it to be like a product tester for them and give them direct feedback, because they'd seen my snooted photos online and on Instagram and all the groups and things. And they sent me one of these guys out, and I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. And so if anyone wants to get into snoot photography, I can't recommend highly enough the Marlux system. It's really handy, especially if you're traveling and you don't want to take an extra snoot. So if you go backscatter, you have to take the flash and the snoot, where if you travel with a Marlux, you just have to take the Marlux and the adapter. So anyway, so there's that. And this is one of the first photos I came out with Marlux. I mean, what an incredible little reticulated hermit crab. These guys are what, 4mm across? Very small little guy. So there you go, 4mm across hermit crab. I have some other ones now where they've now given me a red focus light for the Pro. That's really good. Very, very, very cool bit of kit. And this is then snooting around and just like different stuff, different shrimp and things with a 20mm extension. You've got the bumblebee shrimp. You've got more just crab and shrimp central. More fun, basically. I mean, this is all this little zone from this tiny little creamed off area. This is an area, by the way, that they want to build on, and they want to put an extra cruise ship dock. And bonkers, isn't it? I mean, when you've got all this life, And we got some crabs. Here we go. The crabs with a 105 and 20 mil. More crabs. We've got decorator crabs. We've got leaf cutter crabs. We've got the reticulated. I love them to bits. I mean, what an amazing little thing. Again, with a 105 with a 20 mil extension. Crab eyes. We've got giant hermit crabs. We've got crabs everywhere. More crabs and even more crabs. You know, this little bit of reef is just so full of life. It's incredible. And it's completely overlooked by everybody. And I've kind of shone a light on this tiny little reef bar and this tiny little bit of reef, which to most people looks like a bunch of weeds and an anchor zone, but in fact it's just bristling with life and all the different little amphipods. These crazy little guys. This is the CMC1. I don't know if anyone's got one of these CMC1s or the CMC2, but they're incredibly difficult to use. I almost don't use them anymore because I find myself a bit destructive with it. I tend to do a snow plow with them every now and again. I'll be taking a photo of something and I'll just snow plow into it and I'll feel really bad about it. But you know, it's an amphipod, I'm sure it'll be fine. Really, AD, you got the old skeleton shrimps. Again, I thought you had to go to Anlau to get all this. I really thought you had to fly to the Philippines to go to these, you know, fly off resorts in order to be able to take photos of skeleton shrimp, not realizing that they're everywhere here. Just that most people in Cozumel or most people that come to Cozumel are not diving in a way to be able to see them. You know, they're diving these really fast reefs, these really fast drifts, but they're still there. It's just you just can't see them unless you stop. Frogfish. Again, I thought, you know, Indonesia was the place to see these, but we get them here too. You get the dwarf on the left there. So he's probably what, I don't know, 3 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches. A tiny little baby long-lure frogfish. Maybe that guy was maybe 3 centimeters tops. More froggies. Again, I think when you type in frogfish Cozumel, you pretty much only end up with my photos out there. It's quite scary how few photos of frogfish are out there on Cozumel. It's bizarre. Scorpionfish. So many scorpionfish. They're my favorite. And all more scorpionfish, all with the same lens setup. And then the squid. Then I started finding squid. The revelation of finding squid on Cozumel was just amazing. So these are the 3 common squid we get at Tiki. We get the inshore squid on the left, we get the Caribbean reef squid in the center, and then we've got the little tiny grass squid on the right. That photo of the grass squid there probably took me a month to take because I knew the symmetry shot was possible, but getting the timing, as soon as the animal starts pulling the pose, and then getting yourself into position to take the photo, and then these are snooted, which makes it even more difficult. Because to use an open set of strobes on a reef dive, I often find quite dirty. You end up with so much background. So this is a snoot, so it was even more difficult. But that one took quite a long time to take. Here the octopus we get Tiki. We've got the Caribbean on the left. We've got the 2 spot in the bottom, and then the Atlantic. Right. Nudies. That's what we all like, aren't they? When we're photographers, we love slugs and nudies because they don't move. I think that's the best thing about slugs and nudies. I'll just run through these really quickly because I want to talk more about blackwater. So this is kind of, hang on, let me just see how we're doing. Yeah, okay. So slugs and nudies. Let's run through these really quickly. Big and little ones. Wonderful. There we go. There's a good selection of what we kind of see at Tiki. So, more slugs. Even more of them. There's so many. You never know what you're going to see. And this is mainly because of the currents there. They're constantly blowing new slugs through. A lot of these slugs I see because they're flying past me, and then you just wait for them to drop down and start munching on stuff. And here's more slugs. Very typical. All the kind of stuff you get at Tiki. Little snails. We all got to love snails. If you buy the Caribbean Reef ID book by Mickey Charteris, you'll see that photo down the bottom right there. The orange marginella. There are so many of them here. It's wonderful. They're the best way to see and find other nudies. You basically find an orange marginella and then just follow it, and it will take you to a nudie. If you notice there, it's on the marginella, it's there stabbed a little sea hare. So it's quite fun watching that happen. More nudies, right? So this, when I was taking these photos, I had a revelation. These two photos were kind of like the point of like, oh my word, what on earth is that? Here's the moment of revelation. I took this photo. So while I was taking these photos, I looked up and I saw this tiny little fish that was swimming really badly. And as you can see, this photo is pretty terrible. I've really used an awful lot of computer software to try and get this to a point of it being visible. I call this my little minion. But this is the first time I took a photo of a fish that I didn't know what it was. And it kind of, and I was just amazed by it. It must have been the same size as my little fingernail. And it was swimming incredibly badly, just above my head. I was in about 5 meters of water and I looked up and I saw it swimming along and I snapped 3 photos of it before it disappeared. And I posted it online and a couple of people went, you should post that on a Blackwater photo group. And at the time I had no idea what Blackwater photography was. So I posted it up and when, you know, Cozumel in 5 meters of water, anyone got an idea? And I heard back from people and they were saying, wow, that's quite something special. That's a proper deep water anglerfish. And I was like, but if you can see, I took it in probably 2 meters of water. Does my cursor show up on it? No, it doesn't. I took it very, very shallow. So all of a sudden my world was like captivated with what the heck is Blackwater. And after a bit of reading, the definition of Blackwater is water that's deeper than recreational depth, well away from a reef. So I was looking at this going, well, hang on, if I swim past the reef, if I go out further from the reef, I can hit very, very, very deep water very quickly from Tequila. So the time it takes to swim with just my fins on from the shore to the drop off is probably 15 minutes. Well, on my scooter, I can do it in 5 minutes, not even that. That's a 5-minute swim. So here's a picture of Bonnie. She's Cameron, who at this point unfortunately passed away. She's his mum, and I took her out as being backup. I wanted a backup diver with me. So there's one of our scooters. We got 3 of these scooters. So here's one of the scooters set up with 2 of my big Orca lights strapped to it. And what the plan was to dive off and disappear straight away from the reef and go into the deep water and see what we found at night. So this is us preparing. The sun was just going down at Tiki. The scooter was all balanced to have these big lights on. Bonnie was going to be the lighting lady. I was going to be the guy with the photos, and let's see what we found, right? So here was the dive plan. The dive plan was to scooter out from Tiki, go out into the deep water, well away from the reef, and then work out what we were going to do. Just go. Now this was straight after lockdown, so because of the COVID restrictions, you know, Canada was still shut off, the States were still shut off. So there was no boat traffic. So I could be at the surface and not worry about having a haircut or anything. So we could scooter around in deep water. After a while of being out there, we could then surface to check where we were, and then we could just scooter back in. So that's what we did. And it worked. And it really, really worked. And wow, did it work. And everything out there I'd never ever seen before, and I'd never heard about, and I didn't understand anything about it. I mean, we're looking here at a sea butterfly, one of the world's most prolific snails. There's more of these snails out there than anything else. And I had no idea about them. I mean, what is that thing? It was just like this jelly-looking butterfly thing floating around in the current. So we discovered it. There it is. We were finding Blackwater on Cozumel. Well, whatever this Blackwater thing is. So I was massively hooked. I couldn't think about any other form of diving. All I was living for is going out again the next night and scootering out. Now, because of the COVID restrictions and everything that happened, some reason a border opened and Bonnie upped and left back to Canada. And so I was just out there doing it on my own. And I worked out how to scooter out there with 2 or 3 tanks and just hang out at 18 meters, taking photos. I'd come to the surface, work out where I was and scooter back. And And yeah, it's amazing. But I mean, seeing these long-armed octopus, wow. Just to say that down the bottom right there's my lighting setup. That's how I took these photos. I found that it's very, very important to fix it in camera before you take it and you fix it in post. I hear a lot of people take photos and go, oh, I'll sort that out later. It's like, no, you have to make sure that Blackwater photos have to be good before you take them into your computer, before you fix them. As you can see, I was very early on in taking these photos, so the backscatter was terrible. I hadn't really worked out how to minimize the backscatter and how to get a clean photo before I took it. But yeah, I was hooked. There you go. I mean, it was this kind of diving is insanely good fun. However, the local authorities didn't like me doing it, because when they saw me going out and doing this pattern, all they saw were my flashes. I was using red light before I went out there, so it wasn't hurting my eyes too much. So they would see flashes in the channel at night. If you see where they say sunset, where it says sunset on the map is basically where the local army, the marine station is. So they can look out on this area just to check if anything's going on. And they were seeing these flashing lights and these red lights way out in the channel, and then nothing. So every evening they'd see for about an hour me flashing around like crazy. Then I'd come back in, but I'd come back in on red lights, so I was completely invisible. Anyway, they eventually found out about me. But anyway, so a friend Boz, who was on the internet, he started seeing a friend from Facebook. He started seeing my photos posted and got in contact with me and said, "Hey, look, you're getting stuff. I want to come down and have a look." So he came down and said, "No, look, come on, let's get a boat, let's get it all sorted." So I did a lot of phoning around, a lot of talking to people, and I found a big splash. And I found a group called Cozumel Adventures who were willing to humor me, essentially, because no one else was doing this. This was, this was kind of unheard of. They all thought I was going to get eaten by sharks. So we were on this boat. It's got plenty of freeboard. It's got nice gunnels on it, so we can take big waves. We can go out in waves up to 1.4 meters, and we can still get a dive in. So this boat's fantastic. You can see Chepper up the top there, and this is the big splash. And this is when I started using my big cable lights, hanging them as we're doing. So this is what the dive looks like here. And it's insane. I don't know how these Blackwater dives are meant to be done. I've kind of been making this all up as I go along, because I've never done a Blackwater dive anywhere else. And most of the Blackwater places are not very keen on giving out that much information. They're very selective over what they kind of give you. So I just kind of did this, and it kind of works. We use the lights as a reference, so we know how deep we are. Obviously, we've got computers and things, but it's just nice to have a visual reference when you feel like you're getting a bit deep. And these lights really, really help. So this is where it all starts going a little bit crazy, because it's like, where do we jump? Where do we go dive? Where do we, we know we've got this really deep channel, but we don't know where to jump. So initially I started tracking. So these red lines are where we did dives. Each time we did a dive, I dropped a point in to try and work out where were we getting good results. And as you can see, we made a lot of mistakes, because I was paying for the diesel on that boat, and that boat is really, really expensive to run. Got these two massive cats. So say, for example, the line on the very far left there was probably around about close on to $200 worth of diesel I was burning on just to do that dive. So we made a lot of mistakes. But slowly we started finding out more and more information from people. I was probing the odd person in Florida and getting a little bit of information out of them here and there. And we started, as we slowly get closer and closer to the island, we started realizing we were getting better and better results for this Blackwater the closer we were getting to the island. But there's me giving my talk to all these divers about the stuff I've been seeing and everything. And at this point, I really felt like we'd done it. We were getting a dive a week in, maybe 2 dives a week. We're getting half full boats. It was paying for itself. It was not costing me an arm and a leg anymore to pay for all this diesel. And slowly but surely, it was kind of winding in. And now we've got it nailed. Now I can feel for certain at this point we're 18 months, 2 years into this project. We've got it. We know exactly where to drop. Like I've even named it Epic Drop. That's where we go. I'm giving you all this background information, guys. Please don't share it. But it's basically we're looking for 800 feet. This is our absolute beautiful dive depth. There seems to be something in that number. If we go shallower than 800, we get a very wormy dive. If we go any deeper, we often end up with a very spacey, not much stuff until very much the end of the dive. But if we drop at 800, we're in it straight away. It's uncanny. We're still doing some very long dives. I mean, on the last dive we did 10 nautical miles on one dive, which is really quite something. You jump in, and we jumped in. This was during Carnival here. So we jumped in, and as we jumped out, we were there watching the floats going along the promenade in the centre of town. So phenomenal dive, and we're really starting to see some really cool stuff now. I mean, we were seeing cool stuff from the beginning, but now we've really got it nailed. You know, it's fantastic. We're getting truly deep water species. So we have an hypnop there on the left. This is one of those benzic fish that when they're adults, they live down at 5,000 meters or so, sitting on the bottom of it. It's a phenomenal animal. And, you know, these colors are pretty much, you know, as I see them at the time. So I'm trying not to lie too much about these colors. I'm trying not to enhance them too much, because there is this tendency with black water to give it all a little bit of a lift. But this is really as close as I think you can get it. We're getting these strange hydromeduses. We get the long-armed octopus. This is a picture of me doing it. This is a little video. Here it goes. This is what it looks like when you're under there. See, I'm not doing much swimming. I think that's the only video of me diving I've got. And then we've got Frida and Pedro Turner. I feel a bit disjointed with this talk, but we've got Frida on the left there, we've got Pedro on the right. These guys are my two major dive masters that are always on the dives. They've helped me out so much with these dives, because a lot of the time we're literally just covering the costs to get on the boat, and they've been willing to come out and join in. And you know, no one's making any money apart from the people who own the boat. So they've come out, they've stuck with me all throughout this, and they're both addicted to it as much as I am. They use TG6s. They don't have I run a Nikon D500, which seems to be pretty much one of the cameras at the moment for taking blackwater photos. They use the TG6. They make amazing footage out of it. So this is Pedro's setup with his TG6. He uses an eBay light, although recently now he's been upgraded to a Kraken light, and he also has a mini flash just in case he wants to take some photos. I think we got a video here of some stuff he does. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of this stuff he gets with a light with a correct color temperature, because this video is here shot with a Chinese light, and some of these cheap Chinese lights have a very unusual color balance coming out of them. His is really high in purples and blues. When you see it, it doesn't look too bad, but when on camera it looks pretty funky. This is some more of his stuff, but this is shot with the TG6, which makes it insane. What else we have here? Then an Enope squid. We had one of these the other day. What an incredible animal. So then we got some of Frida's work. I mean, again, she's using a TG6 and getting some most incredible results from it. And that's her setup there. She's got a couple of solar lights, flash. She's been doing.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Hearing your emotions how they echo. So much space.
Have you ever been in love? I don't think so. Do you want me to describe it to you?
TikTok generation, this, isn't it? It's all very short little videos. It's what sells really well on the internet right now. So here we are. It's getting really serious, this dive. It's the most fantastic thing. I'm getting people contact me all the time now about it. I am living, eating and sleeping constantly. I don't go anywhere without my book to write down as I'm in. If I go out to eat somewhere, people see me in my t-shirt and they say, can we come and join the dive? It's amazing. We get all these superstars now in the camera world turn up, who I've spotted on the internet lots, and they all turn up and we all take photos. It's amazing. I never thought that something from just that one epiphany shot, that one, I was taking a photo of a of a tiny little lettuce slug, and I look up and there's that one little fish. I mean, it's incredible. So we're trying to see kind of trends. This is the diamond squid. That one in the center there is the one that got me, I don't know what, 90,000 likes. I got more likes in one day than Kim Kardashian's bottom did, which I thought was kind of fun as a result of this one squid photo. But there's this guy, amazing thing. We see those in July. Oh yeah, look, 88,090 on, it was just insane. These guys seem to be pretty all around in July as well. What's that, 28,000 likes on that guy? Crazy. I didn't realize I'd be taking these photos and it would get so many likes. I had no idea about Blackwater photography about a year before even starting doing this. I think it's incredible. It just seems to be so on the point at the moment. Right. So squid, we get an awful lot of squid here on Cozumel. Mainly due to the incredible unbalanced ecosystem that we've got as a result of everyone coming down and going fishing. You just need to go onto one of these Facebook groups, Cozumel for you or whatever, and you see all these people coming in via cruise ship saying, there's 9 of us, we're coming in via cruise ship and we want to go fishing. And it's causing an incredibly imbalanced ecosystem. So the squid are doing really, really well here, like astronomically well. We have dives where you're just attacked by squid continuously throughout the dive. It's incredibly exciting. This is the common one, the inland squid. They have the most incredible inshore squid, I should say, the most incredible look to them. I mean, I could take photos of them all day long. We get these guys all year round. On the right there, we've got the bird squid. They're the really big ones we get. We've got the orange back, and then the club hook squid. These are all year round, but they're really, really strong right now. So they're very much winter visitors. I mean, the last dive we went out on, we got every single one of these on one dive. It was phenomenal. During the summer, we get the wonderful tripod fish. These guys just, I don't know, what an animal. I had no idea. They live, they're very benzic species. When they're adults, they live right down on the bottom of the abyssal plain, and just sit there. And then we get them as juveniles floating around at the surface. I'd never heard of a tripod fish until I took a photo of one, and there we go. We get these we get the whale fish. These whale fish, what an animal! What a crazy looking animal. The one on the left was the first one I found. Probably the best part of 40 centimeters long in total, that animal. The body maybe 10 centimeters and the tail made up the rest of it. The purple, the violet, the purple velvet whalefish in the center. I spoke to some of the guys that run the Hawaii Blackwater, and they said they get one once a year if they're lucky over the time they've been running the dive, and we get them here in Cozumel as well. And then I believe the one on the right is called the flabby whalefish, which I think is a bit unfair. But for something that's got a sparkly head and it's purple, I mean, how is that even an animal? It's incredible. Then we get these wonderful Argonauts. I think these are probably the favorite thing to spot out on the dives. These are little pelagic octopus. They're often called the paper nautilus. The female on the right over there is what they call the paper nautilus, because it makes this it has a shell around it, very much like a nautilus, but they're not. They're octopus. They're just a pelagic octopus. Very unusual little guy. They're winter visitors. We've noticed they have a period from early December through to, you know what, I think maybe March, April. Then we start losing them again. The wonderful little critters. The males are super tiny. The one in the center there's a male. The one on the left there's also a male. And they're probably 5-10 millimeters long tops. And the females can be really, really big. We had a winged Argonaut the other night, maybe 10 centimeters across. These guys we get all year round, the flying fish. Lots of flying fish. They're really good fun. You can get incredibly close to them. They're not like normal fish that, you know, shy away. These guys will come and headbutt your camera. And it seems that if you take photos of flying fish, you often win underwater photography prizes. They're kind of in favor at the moment. recently won a photography competition as a result of one of these guys. They're wonderful to take photos of, incredibly difficult because they reflect all the light back. So you go from taking a jellyfish that's absorbing all the light, and then you have to change all your settings and go to an incredibly reflective animal. They can be very, very difficult. You also have to put your strobes in a different position when you take photos of them. As you can see, I pulled my strobes right forwards in order to take photos of these guys. The guys with the TG6s struggle with flying fish as a result of their reflectivity. And then we get these pteropods that it was all year round, all the time. I think they're amazing because they just look like different things. The one on the left there, I think, looks a little bit like an English breakfast. The one in the center looks very much like a dancer, I believe, with a tutu. And then the one on the right there looks like some sort of, I don't know. I imagine loads of different things with these guys. Then we get these guys all year round. We got on the left there, we have a pelagic nudibranch. We have a little, I always forget the pronunciation, I was corrected on there earlier, but it's a Fanoa, or however it's pronounced. And then we have a sea elephant on the right there. All of them very, very small, and all of them incredibly captivating when you find them. Seahorses, crabs. It's just the diversity we get out in the black with no reef around is staggering. Every single dive is different. Every single dive has something new that I've never seen, and it's just so captivating. Having dived on Cozumel for numerous years and kind of seen Cozumel, and I rarely see anything new that I've never seen before. But out in the black water, I'm constantly finding stuff and trying to work out and try and ID some of the things. It's just amazing. I mean, who would not want to do a dive where you come back going, anybody know what that was? You know, diving on a dive where you know exactly what everything is kind of, to me, almost a bit boring now. But you know, I mean, seeing crabs play saxophones is amazing. Seeing 3-inch long sailfish is just insane. Mahi, you got a mahi. I mean, just brilliant. So these are the kind of the you know, the things that we really look for. They come through perhaps once or twice a year. What else have we got here? Oh, that's right. I'm now sponsored by Kraken. As a result of all this work, Kraken got in contact with me and said they want to give me some lights. So as well as the 3 30,000 lumen seawolves, I now have 3 15,000 Kraken lights. You can kind of see the difference between the English lumens and the Canadian lumens. No offense to the Canadians, their lumens don't seem to be as much as the English lumens. So there's that. But an interesting thing I found is the color temperatures of these lights. So the Krakens advertise at 5,600 Kelvin, which so in my eye kind of looks green. The Seawolves and the Big Blues all go in at 6,250 Kelvin, which to my eye is a very blue light. And it actually makes a difference to the life that's attracted to these lights. The salps, the tunicates, and jellyfish in general seem to be attracted towards the Krakens, towards that greener end. Where the isopods, copepods, and the little biters out there seem to be attracted to the big blue. There's something about the big blue, and not so much the seawolves. So there's something within the spectrum that the big blue gives out is attracting an awful lot of life. And there we are. That's where we stand at the moment. We've got a logo, thanks to Boz. We've got a group of divers that are coming out with us all the time, and we've got wonderful Cozumel, and it's working. We're putting out 2 dives a week, and it kind of leads to the future. And from my friends who run an awful lot of LED manufacturing companies over in China, from all the big screens and stuff we used to use on concerts, I was speaking to one of them and said, look, this is what we want to do. This is what I need. So we're designing this. We're going to start beta testing it soon. It's a battery powered light that you can actually change the frequency. You can change the black body curve to with these straps on the back. So we're essentially creating a lure. What initially I was using these big bright lights as a reference to go diving, we're now thinking about using these lights as being a lure to bring in wildlife. It seems that if we can mimic bioluminescence, if we can mimic the moon, we're going to start bringing in life. I had a bit of a thought when I was watching these lights and seeing the different life that was attracted to the different lights. The Krakens bring in one set of lights, the big blue liz brings in another. So what if I can actually tune these lights to a specific frequency? I did some reading on the internet about the giant squid, and when they were trying to find these giant squid, they created these fishing lures, these flashing LED straps. And so that's what we're going to plan on doing this, except we're going to do it in a big way. Each one of these lights is going to be kicking out around about 120,000 lumens. So with the modern technology they're now using on LED walls, we're going to be grabbing a bit of that and creating these canisters. So hopefully we can start bringing in some different life, so you find out what else is out there. So that's the future. And that's about it. And I think that's about the time that how are we doing? Oh, 56 minutes. There you go, guys. That's Blackwater Cozumel. It's been my passion for the last few years now, and I spent more time on this than I ever did my degree. And I just wish I'd found out about it sooner. I've been on the island far too long. I was taking far too many photos of slugs and other things when I could have been taking photos of these aliens. So there you go. That was kind of condensed. I could have spoken a lot longer about it, but there you go.
Thank you very much, Robert. We're gonna let Martin do his thing to get everybody back online in the Zoom land here. Okay, just a second.
Stop sharing.
Stop sharing, Robert.
Just trying to hold on. I'm seeing if I can.
Yeah, you need to stop your share down at the bottom somewhere.
Or sharing. There we go. And then stop sharing. There we go. How's that?
Okay,
there
good.
we go.
That's fine. I'm going to open the questions up from the people out in Zoom land first. David, Mike, anybody?
I just say I really enjoyed the program. I've been following your work on Instagram and stuff. Back in my early diving days in the, say around 90 and early 90s, I did a lot of beach dives in that area because I was on a tight budget. And beach diving was a lot cheaper than boat diving. And
Exactly.
I agree, there's a lot of cool stuff in that area. One thing I think is missing now, are there any fans there? Because there used to be tons of purple fans out there in that area, and I don't think there are anymore.
They've broken up. We had a series of hurricanes come through. Wilma obviously took out a vast majority, and then 3 years ago we had like a month of 4 hurricanes back to back. We had, well, one of them was a tropical storm, but it was a hurricane, and it just annihilated. We tried to save as much as we could. We're putting things back in, but it's annihilated. There's very, very little life like that left there now.
I have a comment. I'm an old-time cave diver, been down in the Riviera Maya many, many times, but I have never dove Cozumel for whatever reason, I don't know. And it freaked me out when I saw all the sea life you were showing compared to just on the other side on the mainland. You don't see it. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, Cozumel is so Aerolito is incredible. It contains 20% of the 20% of the local cave specific animals in it. So there's this strange fact around the life within Aerolito. It's phenomenal. It basically sits on 3 different layers. You've got the first layer, which is at 5 meters, very like diving in an estuary. It's really weird. It's brackish. And then you've got the next layer down, which goes down to about 12 meters, 18 meters, and it's like going back in time. So it's the amount of stuff in there is the specific. You've got loads of different starfish. You've got brittle stars. You've got anemones. You've got just that are all cave specific. Just purely in Aerolito. It's been isolated for long enough, and you can dive, I don't know what, 2 kilometers back into it, and you're still at that depth, and you're still finding, salps, and you're finding. I found a jellyfish the other day in there, maybe a foot across, a mangrove jellyfish, upside down jellyfish, a kilometer back inside this cave. I mean, you find octopus back there, and you're like a kilometer from the cave, and it's a kilometer from the outside. It's incredible the amount of nutrients being flown in there, the diversity. It's something. If you enjoy reef diving and you enjoy cave diving, Aerolito is paradise.
Well,
Because-
that's my next trip.
Dude,
Okay.
give me a shout. Say I'm in town. I've got all my gear.
I
let me
will,
know.
I will definitely look you up.
It's the most insane.
Any
dive.
more? We need to be moving along. Are there any questions from our audience here and here? Anybody?
I want to know when you're going to schedule a trip there.
Are
Do
you talking to me?
Yeah,
great.
Dennis, come
Oh,
on,
well,
get with
don't
him and
know.
let's go.
I'm
I
doing
agree. It'd be a
everything.
great group trip.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can just to get a Cuba trip going.
Cozumel's really easy for you guys, isn't it? You
It
can
is.
just
Yeah,
like,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, you just stick your hand out and hitchhike down there. It's easy. Hey, I think we're gonna need to go now to the photo contest. And Robert, thank you so much, man. It was
Thanks for
great.
having me. Hopefully I didn't waffle too much. I've had a funny week.
That was
I really
interesting.
appreciate the fact that you joined us. I know you got a busy schedule. Really do.
I've had a bit of a funny one. Yeah.
Okay, contest time.
Or do you want 5 minutes, or you can just go on into the photo contest?
We can do it right now.
All right.
Yeah, let's just do it now. I wanted to comment about the photo contest that I thought that once again, that the entrants are very good. We've had a lot of people showing up with pretty good stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for bringing your whole family, Justin. Even one that isn't quite here yet. And thank you very much. Let's break it down and get out of here.
David, are you in Colorado?